Welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is my great co-host, Keith. Of course, Gary's not with us this week. We keep flip-flopping back and forth. Keith is here this week. Keith, how you doing?
Doing good. Crazy end to a fantasy season. So many players injured, not available. So made it interesting in the last week of the fantasy season. But yeah, not doing too bad other than that, I suppose.
No, not too bad. I mean, I will say though, a lot of big names, like you were mentioning, was out this past week, and it really hurt a lot of fantasy managers. And usually we don't really see this until about week 18, obviously. That's why many people play week 17 championships. But, of course, we are here today to give you week 18 waivers, even though you shouldn't be playing week 18. I mean, I don't think I have one league that is week 18 championship.
Yeah, no, I've never played in the one that goes to the very end. It's too volatile whether players are actually going to start or not. So, yeah. But I know there is leagues out there that go all the way, so you got to help the people.
You got to help the people, indeed. Speaking of helping people out, some fantasy winners and losers. I just want to quickly mention the biggest loser that could have cost me the listener league is Jaden Reed.
I mean, man, I don't know what he got for you, but he got 1.6 in one of my leagues. He was targeted a few times. One, he either couldn't catch the ball or, he got tackled at the wrong time and was a penalty. But, I mean, he was just a bust on the wrong week. He was a guy who started off hot in fantasy and then cooled big time as the season went on. And there's a lot of times he was only on the field on third downs, which was like crazy to me. I personally still think he's their best wide receiver, their most talented one. But I mean, Jordan Love just likes to share it around, and Reed's kind of the odd man out come the end of the season.
I also agree on Jaden Reed being the top wide receiver there. Here's the issue with me. I was at work, and I was bouncing between back and forth of the guy I wanted to start. Last second, I changed it, and I put in Jaden Reed, and I took out Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, that one got to cost you. I mean, I had one where I was James Conner or Abdullah, and I just stuck with Conner, and that burned me as well. So
yeah, but the issue is he had an injury. Obviously, you can't predict injuries. So obviously, James Conner being out, it messed you up because of the injury. But Abdullah and Reed both played, and of course, because I also had Alexander Madison. For people who don't know about the listener league, of course, winner of the league will win a trophy. So obviously we'll have that next season for any of you who want to win a trophy via Trophy Smack. But yeah, it's me right now with this guy named All Elite in our league. And I had Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah, and Jaden Reed. And my only concern was if I start Abdullah, it's going to be Alexander Madison that does really great.
Goes off, yeah.
So clearly, I probably could have started Madison. I think Madison probably did better than Reed.
Oh, it would be hard not to. I think he did, yeah.
It's so bad. But let's go on to some news and notes around the league. And starting off first is Ron Rivera. He might be coming back and making an appearance into the NFL once again as a head coach. The Jets are interviewing him. So maybe a familiar coach with the league. We might see maybe an uptick. Robert Saleh didn't do it. The rest of the Jets team didn't do it. Do you think he could be a volatile piece to transform that Jets team next year?
I mean, this Jets team are just a mess. I mean, they had the guy, in my opinion, in Saleh. Like, Saleh was not the problem. It's the upstairs that is the issues. Okay, maybe Saleh could have, got rid of his offensive coordinator sooner. That might have helped him out. But I still thought Saleh was doing an okay job. Ron Rivera, old head, old stock. That I'm not sure whether that's going to work in the NFL these days. It's evolved a lot. I mean, maybe he's changed how he plays and stuff. I know he had Cam, who was a rusher back in the day, but kind of all fell to pieces for him in Carolina. It didn't work out in Washington. So I don't know. It's more about these young guys these days, like your Ben Johnsons and stuff like that, guys on that are coordinators on other teams getting gigs. So maybe I also heard is that Rex Ryan coming back to the Jets as well. He's getting interviewed. I'm not really sure where we're going with the older stock guys, but maybe that's what they want. Maybe that's what the owner wants. He thinks that's what they need, an older head to get these guys playing.
Maybe they can somehow turn. Obviously, they can't turn this season around, but maybe they can turn their offseason around. I heard rumors that Garrett Wilson, it could be a big piece to trade in the offseason.
Yeah, I heard that if Aaron Rodgers is committed to coming back and the Jets are committed to having him, then Wilson might request a trade because he probably sees it that Aaron Rodgers just wants to throw to his buddy Adams. So yeah, that'll be an interesting move. But also like the market for your boys in the wide receiver market, for the Patriots, it could be good. I mean, would you get Wilson? T. Higgins is going to be
number one overall pick.
I mean, you're at the number one overall pick. There's going to be a lot on the cards for your boys.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the Patriots are dumb if they draft at number one. You don't need a quarterback.
Yeah,
the Giants do.
Trade down 2, 3, whatever, and get some capital.
The Giants do. The Raiders do. Maybe the Browns do. I think a lot of big teams want Shedeur Sanders, and if he is going to be projected number one overall pick, then Shedeur Sanders will be drafted number one, and the Patriots could get a haul just to move back 2 or 3 spots, whether or not it's Travis Hunter that they pick up at the wide receiver position or Territoria McMillan or something along those lines. But there's a big wide receiver room in this class, and that's what I like about it because the Patriots need a volatile wide receiver because Jalen Polk and Javon Baker are, again, busts once again, and we're just typical at that. But I also heard a rumor. Obviously, I really hope this doesn't happen, but it could very much happen. Shedeur Sanders gets drafted to the Patriots. They trade Drake May away to maybe the Giants at 3, and they draft Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I seen this earlier. I can't remember the guy who said it. I know his name, but I can't.
This guy Nick from Fox.
Nick, yes, he's always controversial. This guy. I think you stick with Drake May. I mean, you know what you have in May, and you build around it. I don't see why you have to mess around with, getting Shedeur Sanders and then you trade away May, and then just talk that you get Travis Hunter or something like that then as well, and then you get Dion to coaches and all this. I mean, we're just spinning it here. Like they were spinning this for the Cowboys weeks ago. I mean, I don't see that happening.
No, I don't see that. And the Ivan Herrera show, of course, mentioning the draft class is ideal for trading back, and that is hopefully what the Patriots will do. So I don't know. I'm really hoping. I'm hoping something happens here. It needs to happen. The Patriots need to turn it around. But I tell you, after the first season of Mac Jones, when he brought them to the playoffs, I would be down for that trade. Trade Mac Jones, get a top pick, draft Shedeur, get Travis. Obviously not now. I like Drake May. I didn't like Drake May at first. I will say that. I was not a Drake May believer.
Are you still a big JJ McCarthy believer?
I'm still a JJ McCarthy believer. He has not stepped foot right now on the field yet in the regular season. I give him, again, another opportunity because I don't know. I wonder if the Vikings are going to keep Sam Darnold. That's my biggest question, I think.
It depends what you have to pay him, I suppose, but it'd be hard not to right now.
And not to mention, if Sam Darnold and the Vikings beat the Lions next week and secure the number one overall seed, that's huge.
Oh, it's massive. I mean, the 49ers could screw it up tonight as well for the Lions, if they go and beat them.
Yeah. We got just Guatemalan dude. He's got 52-point lead. He's going against Goff. I mean, Goff could put up that number, but that is like a miracle for the other team who has just Goff. Unless you somehow have like big bonuses, I don't see the other dude winning. Yeah,
I mean, you even with a runner, I think you probably still max out at like 40, 45.
Exactly.
And Goff's not going to run, so I think you're safe.
Yeah. Michael Hart in the chat, he's agreeing with Guatemalan dude, and he's also down 26.3. He's got Gibbs and Bays going. He's done. What a sweat.
I'm down 26. Have Gibbs and Bates. I think he'll pull it off. I mean,
yeah.
Gibbs could easily put up 20 and then get some Bates kicks. I mean, yeah, I think you will be sweating all right, but I think you can get it done.
It could come down to the very last minutes, last seconds. Let's move on. Oh,
go ahead. No, go on.
I was just gonna say let's move on to we kind of already talked about race for the number 1 overall pick. Patriots obviously hold it. Playoff picture. I don't know if Katie's here in the show today, but the Bengals are still in it. They still have a chance.
They do. I mean, we want to see us on what was it, Saturday, screaming at the TV.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, could Zach Taylor try and lose that game any more than what he did for that, and then get his running back injured as well? I mean, Joe Burrow and that offense are just unreal. They're the best offense in the NFL, in my opinion, right now. And Zach Taylor's doing everything in his power to try and stop this team making the playoffs with some dumb play call and some dumb time management with the clock. Yeah, I think it was a crazy game, but I'm glad they came out because at least it makes it exciting this week. I mean, what they're on the Saturday at 8, they've got the Ravens and the Browns before them. If the Ravens go and win, that means the Steelers can't win the division. So do you see? I don't see the Steelers playing all their starters in that game. I mean, they might start off all right, but I don't think they'll finish with them. That obviously works in the Bengals' favor, and then it's all over to the Jets to beat Miami, and then KC to beat the Broncos, which I'm not sure about that because KC they're resting their starters. So a lot is going to rest on Carson Wentz if it does come down to that, and I wouldn't like to be relying on Carson Wentz.
I'm kind of rooting for these Bengals to make it to the playoffs. Right now for the AFC, KC's locked at 1, Buffalo's locked at 2. Baltimore is locked in. They need a win or a Pittsburgh loss for the 3rd seed. Houston is locked in at the 4th seed. Pittsburgh's locked in, but they're battling for the North and the wild card, or of course the third seed if they win the North. Los Angeles Chargers, they're also locked in. They clinched it this past week, but they're also battling for a wild card on the seedings. And then, like we mentioned, with Cincinnati, they're battling with Denver and Miami, all for a playoff spot. Denver wins, they're in. They lose, and Miami wins, they're in. And if both Cincy has some hope and wins, and Miami and Denver both lose, then Cincy somehow comes back and makes the playoffs. As for the NFC, Minnesota is locked in. They're battling for the number 1 overall seed right now. They're playing against Detroit, which will be a thriller to end the season. We'll have that prediction coming up later on in the show. That's for the number 1 seed. It's going to be Sunday Night Football. Philly, they're locked in at 2. The Rams, they're locked in after eliminating the Seattle Seahawks. Sorry, Keith. They will be either 3 or the 4 seed. And then Tampa Bay, they need a win or an Atlanta loss to clinch. Again, Detroit locked in. Like I mentioned, it's between Minnesota and them. Washington's locked in. They will be either the 6 or 7 along with Green Bay. And then the wild card is, of course, Atlanta, who really just needs to win and hope for the Bucks to lose.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I don't even. Do they need that? They do after losing yesterday, but they do hold the division advantage.
Yes, yeah, because they beat the Bucks both times this season. Dylan in the chat, he's got a chance to win $1,200. I would love to win that as well, Dylan. You currently have a 49.2 point lead, and your opponent's got Gibbs and Juwan Jennings. I like your odds a lot. Gonna be honest, I like your odds a lot. I would be surprised if Gibbs and Jennings both put up more than 49.2 points.
Yeah, Gibbs could definitely explode, but yeah, I mean, obviously you're hoping that Debo has a big night here because of late it's either been one or the other. Jennings does well or Debo does well, so let's hope for you it's a Debo night. But yeah, I think I'm hoping you're pretty safe here, and best of luck winning $1,200. Yeah,
I really hope. We're rooting for you, Dylan. Buy or sell Brian Thomas Jr. for a first-round pick for 2025?
Easy. Buy. I mean, if we go back to, I don't know, probably not this time last year, but getting close to the draft, I was a big Brian Thomas Jr. getting slated about having him too high up the draft board, and you guys were all Troy Franklin fans and all that stuff. And I'm glad that one worked out anyways. So I would be all the way on buying Brian Thomas Jr. He's doing with Mac Jones, who's not exactly a stellar. He was doing it with Lawrence. exactly not, better than Mac Jones, but not exactly one of the top guys. I think this guy is a serious talent, and I would buy him definitely.
Yeah, I would also buy into that. I love Brian Thomas Jr. Stud guy. Mr. Magic, he's up by 28. His opponent, Scott Purdy. I don't really see much of a worry unless Purdy somehow has a stellar game, but he has not put up more than 26 fantasy points this season.
He could. The only thing, Detroit's defense is banged up in the secondary. And he's been finding Kittle a lot. I mean, I hope you win, but I think you're going to be sweating it.
Yeah. I think you'll be sweating till the end, but I don't see Purdy maybe 24 points, but you'll definitely be sweating it towards the end. Calvo, what's up, fellas? I'm down 19 in my championship match. Should I start Deebo or JMO full PPR? I'm going JMO. Give me Jameson Williams.
We're going to be no help to Calvo because I'm starting Deebo tonight.
I'm starting Jameson Williams in our listener league.
I've got to start Deebo at one of mine.
All right, so give me your defense on why Deebo should be the starter, and I'll give you my defense.
I think they're going to get him more involved. They could even put him in as a running back. I know what's his face? Is it Gurez or whatever his name is? I can't think of his name. Running back. Garendo, there we go, is going to be back. But I still think he'll see more. They're just banged up in that secondary. Deebo, I think, is going to file holes in it. And I get it. It's either going to be a Deebo or Jennings night. That's the way it's been going. I just hope it's Deebo. JMO has been doing well, I know, of late, but I think you rely severely on the big plays from JMO, where Deebo can get involved a lot more in other ways. So that's why I lean Deebo. And I'm obviously playing him. So.
Hey, Jameson Williams also has rushing potential. He had that one rush for 7 yards this past week. No, but I can see Jameson Williams getting like 5 receptions for maybe 85 yards. And obviously a touchdown would be nice, but I think that's minimum what I could see. I could easily see a touchdown for Jameson.
It's not Williams. Like the 49ers are stellar either. They're banged up too. I just lean the opportunity more. Who can get the ball in their hands the most? And I just think Deebo can. But like we're both on the other side, so I don't think I think you have a hard option, but I don't think you have a bad one. I think they're going to be two good plays. I
think they both can put up very similar numbers.
Yeah.
Like they could be within 2-3 points of each other.
Yeah.
Let's go on to some injuries real quick before we jump into the waiver wire pickups for the week. Quarterbacks, I'm just going to spitfire all these. Tua Tagovailoa, he's got a hip injury. He missed week 17. We could see him play in week 18, especially if its playoff implications are going to mean anything, which they definitely will if the Broncos also lose. Kenny Pickett, he played through broken ribs. That's something to monitor this week, but he did great. Looked really good. And then Jalen Hurts, obviously, he's got a concussion. He was out week 17. That's why we saw Kenny Pickett. Rumors has it that he could be back week 18, but again, this is more of a monitor because they already locked in the number 2 overall seed. Why have to start him? So we may see Kenny Pickett or the other backup. I think Tanner McKee. I think it is.
Tanner McKee, give him a go. He looks fun.
Yeah. So I think the big one here for fantasy, anyways, is more Tua in this one.
Yep. Great.
Running backs, there is a lot on the list. Chase Brown, ankle sprain, of course, we already mentioned. Keith mentioned it earlier. Shorter week than most because he's playing on Saturday. Again, this is just something to monitor whether or not he will be available to play. Aaron Jones got a quad injury, good chance to return in week 18. Chuba Hubbard, some guy that has led you all the way to maybe the championship. He's been placed on IR with a knee injury. His season is done.
That was so annoying. Sorry.
So annoying.
So annoying. Because that was like hour or two or something, or early, before the game. I was like, seriously, that was so annoying.
I couldn't believe it. I was actually so upset because he's really carried me to the championship in a couple leagues.
I didn't get why they let it go so long and then go from not playing, but to go straight to IR. I mean, that was just odd.
I mean, just for us, feel better. Just say he's out, not
that's it.
On IR.
No, we just needed one more game out of him, to be fair. That's all. He can go. He can get injured after this or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Or he can be placed on IR afterwards. Just we need him for the championship.
That's it.
Tajay Spears, he's in concussion protocol. Status is in the air for week 18. James Conner, knee injury. He hasn't finished healthy in his career. Never finished a full season, but he could be out week 18, but we may see him try to play in week 18 just to get his first full season in. I think big one here for fantasy managers is Chase Brown, because I hate to say it, even though this was Keith's season prediction player who would smash his ADP of running back 36, he's been a stud, absolute stud this year.
Absolute stud. I mean, the minute they just gave him the reins, I think a week 9, he's just been incredible. And I don't know if he got over 1,000 yards, but he was close to getting it before he got banged up. So I think that'd be the driving force as well. Obviously, he really helps his Bengals team, but I mean, it'd be nice to, say you start your season more or less at week 9 and end up with over 1,000 yards.
He's done so good. RB10 right now on the year. Yards wise, he's got 990 rushing yards.
Okay, he really wants to come back just to get that extra bit.
I can see him. I could see him coming back. At least if he's not playing the full game, maybe like the first couple drives, maybe, and then he might be ruled out for the rest of the game because of his ankle.
Yeah, once the swelling's gone down, you can, like, I dealt with a lot of, not obviously that level of NFL players, but like soccer injuries with ankles. Once the swelling's gone down, you can spray it, you can wrap that up, and you can go. And I mean, this is going to be the biggest. Right now, it's the biggest game of the season for the Bengals. So, because they got to do their part. Once they win, they give themselves a chance. So, I'd say he'll be doing everything to get out on the field.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Lastly, for injuries is Joshua Palmer. Looks like he's going to be needing a walking boot. He's got a heel injury. Season's obviously done. Maybe for him, we may see him late if the Chargers can make a late push into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. That's all I got for injuries. You got any tight end injuries? Because I didn't see any.
Tight end. Not that I noticed. All right. Can't think off the top of my head anyways. Nothing major.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen not that many injuries for tight ends this year.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that are already there, like K-Dot and stuff like that, being assessed to come back and all that. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can just take that guy Durham if you want to. Baker just likes to throw into whatever tight ends fit. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Magic, give me your top 5 picks in redraft next year. Just going through some players who've really put up fantasy points, big fantasy points. This is a tough one, but I think Justin Jefferson might be one of my top, and definitely in my top 5. This is obviously one QB league, so quarterbacks are not going to be in this top 5. I'd probably say Justin Jefferson, then Jamar Chase, then Saquon, maybe Bijan, and then I'm bouncing between Derrick Henry and Jahmyr Gibbs, because I think maybe Derrick Henry could take a step back next year.
Yeah.
So I might put Jahmyr Gibbs there.
I'd be Chase, Jefferson, Gibbs, Barkley. Not in that order, just 5. Gibbs, Barkley.
Monroe could be a one.
I'm on Raw, but like I was having a look at, people are starting to do their early draft picks, like 1 QB, and somebody had Brian Thomas Jr. at the end of the first.
I could see it. I could easily see it.
Yeah, so like you could see these things. I mean, what you do with the likes of T. Higgins, if he sticks around in Cincy, he's gonna. I'm not saying he's top 5, but he's gonna come up draft boards. You basically have like 2 wide receiver ones there, but I could go with Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Barkley, Gibbs, then 5 in whatever order you want.
Okay. Buy or sell Bo Nix, top 5 QB in 2025. I could say, fantasy wise, I could see Bo Nix top 10, but I couldn't see him top 5.
I don't think he has the weapons to be top 5. I think he has. I like what he does with his legs. I like the talent. I like him, but I think he needs more consistent weapons outside of Vele and Sutton.
And Mims.
Mims was your guy this year. But yeah, no, I don't see him. Maybe, he could definitely get in top 10, top 12, but I'd say he'd need to be pushing serious numbers on the ground to get in top 5.
Yeah, I could see him at most top 7, like 7, maybe 6, but that's really tough to get, especially because he doesn't rush all that much.
Yeah.
I mean, he had more rushing ability. I could try to argue for Rookie of the Year, but yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is clear cut the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. To answer that question, I'm selling top 5, but I'd buy top 10.
Yeah, myself as well. All right, that's all we got. You got any more news, notes, injuries, anything else?
No, I'm good to go.
All right, we are off again. QB waiver wire ads of the week. Let's get going. I will start with my guy with Russell Wilson, 18.7 fantasy points this past week. He's only 51% owned. Obviously, we're naming players who are under 70% owned. He hasn't put up decent numbers over the last 2 weeks. He's put up decent numbers over the past few weeks. But I think the matchup that he has is solely my reason why he's going to be one of the top quarterback ads of the week is because he's going against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, sorry, Katie, sorry, Keith, has terrible, terrible defense. And again, this favorable matchup against a awful Cincinnati defense means it might be a high-scoring game. And the last time Russell Wilson faced Cincinnati, he put up 27 points, and that earned him the QB4 status of the week. So we could easily see that once again this week.
Yep, don't knock it at all. Great matchup. It sounds like they're going to play all their starters, but I would just be careful that they would rest them at halftime or something like that, especially knowing that the Ravens have won the division and they can't get that, being them, the Ravens being the earlier game. But he's definitely, I think, the top pick on the waiver wires if he's out there. What's he, only 50% on? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 51.
51. I mean, he's out there in half leagues. He's definitely top QB. He could definitely do some damage with that awful Bengals defense. It could be a high-scoring game if they both decide to turn up and the Steelers keep their starters out there, which is going to be exciting. But the Bengals will have to push it and try and win, so they are going to be going on 4th down and doing a few things like that. So it should be a good game. But I like to call on Wilson.
All right, who's your guy for this week?
I took a flyer on Mac Jones. He's been looking pretty good the last couple of weeks. He put up 17 points this week. Great connection with Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, what more of a better matchup do you want than the Colts? I know they're at the Colts, but the Colts just got done by the Giants.
Drew Lock was a QB2, right?
He was. I mean, like, one, what are the Giants doing? And two, how bad are the Colts? So I don't know. But going back to Mac Jones, I think, in Superflex leagues, I think you can play him as your Superflex QB this week if you need him to win your league. He's definitely a flyer in deeper leagues, I suppose, in a QB1 leagues. But I don't mind it at all. I think he's looked pretty good, and he's helping his team get the win.
I hate to agree with you because it's Mac Jones,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a former Patriot. But I unfortunately will have to agree because I think this is a good ad. I feel like he's honestly been looking a little bit better than Trevor Lawrence this year, which is sad to say, in my opinion. But yeah, I think Mac Jones with a very favorable matchup against Indy, who just gave up the QB2 amount of points, like I think 30-something points with Drew Lock. I think Mac Jones is a little bit more of an upgrade than Drew Lock. So I think we could very much see Mac Jones produce, and he could very much give you a 20-point week.
Yeah, I mean, he looks way more comfortable in this Jags offense.
He's got nothing to lose.
That's it. Exactly, you're right. I mean, he's playing for whether to be the backup next year of the Jags or probably be the backup somewhere else. I don't think he probably gets a starting job. But I mean, look at Baker, look at Sam Darnold. Them guys a couple of years ago were both on the same team, and the Panthers looking like they were going nowhere. So who knows what happens? And that's probably the way Mac Jones is thinking. So he's showing off for every other team.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Gary's not here, but while he lives his life in Ohio and going to Cleveland and for the game and everything, we'll be jealous here. He did give us his picks. His pick is Bryce Young. Bryce Young has been mentioned multiple times this year, and it's a good opportunity, good reason why he put Bryce Young, because Bryce Young has been producing. He's been finishing as a top 15, sometimes even a top 10 quarterback in the past few weeks. So I'd like to call it, and he's going against a very favorable Atlanta team who is right now still trying to get into the playoffs, and I think it could be a high-scoring affair as well. And last time Atlanta faced the Panthers was when Andy Dalton was a quarterback, and he put up 16 or just shy of 17 fantasy points. Difference is Bryce Young has the mobility to rush outside the pocket, and I think that's going to help him push over that 16, 17 points that Andy Dalton put up against Atlanta.
Yeah, I brought him up a few times on the pod. He's definitely the most improved as the season's gone on. Like the matchup, like what he's doing recently. He's got a connection there with Thielen. I mean, Thielen, people hate him, I think, in fantasy. Like, they just don't want to go near him, but he just produces, man. And he has a great connection with Bryce Young. Whether he comes back for another year, who knows. But they've got some young weapons. Coker, he's another guy I like. So I think Young is definitely going to cause this Atlanta defense some trouble this week. Another guy that in deeper leagues that you can throw in, or super flex, you can play him as your super flex QB. I wouldn't mind it. But one thing I would say, I'm really interested to see how he is next season. I'm getting a full season of the real Bryce Young. We've only seen half a season. He did not look good. First half, we were thinking he was going to be gone. They'd be drafting another QB. I think they stick with him. I mean, if he brings this type of form in next year and improves, we're going to see a totally different player from the word go next year.
I think also the biggest question mark is the receiving core. What's going to happen with the receiving core? Will Adam Thielen be officially fully healthy for the whole season? Is he going to stay there? Is he going to be on the move? And who's the next guy that's going to be really stepping up? Is it Jalen Coker, David Moore? What is the next guy? Are they going to draft a guy, sign someone in free agency? Obviously, Bryce Young has produced this to end off the season, but can he take the next step now to start winning games even more?
Yeah, they need that alpha wide receiver one. But
yes.
I mean, if Thielen decides to stick around next year, he's going to have that connection.
T to the Panthers? Oof. I don't like that at all. I don't like that. I don't even like thinking about it.
What'd you say? I said T?
Yeah.
No, I was saying if Thielen sticks around.
Oh, I was hearing T Higgins.
Oh, no. T should not go there. T is either going to get his money and they're going to sort something out at the Bengals, or I'd say he might end up with Hughes or something like that. Somebody will pay him silly money at a less off team, and he'll just be the out and out alpha. I don't think it'll be the Panthers now. But they do need, going back to the Panthers, they do need an alpha wide receiver one.
Very much so. Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, and Bryce Young, our top quarterback ads of the week, the final quarterback ads of the week until 2025. Going into the running backs now. Keith, we'll start with your guy. He's the first timer on the show.
Yeah, well, Michael Carter, just with James Conner and Benson being out. He rushed for about 70 yards. Yeah, I got 10, just over 10 fantasy points. He's not a great, I suppose, but that game itself wasn't great, and most of it was going through the air. I think he could take advantage of Conner, like I said, Conner and Benson not being there. He's a flex play at most, or a desperation play if you're in need at the running back position. I know your guy is coming up. Your guy is the out and out number one this week at any position, in my opinion. So that's who you go for. But if you're stuck, I think Carter can help you at least get 10 to 15 points this week.
Yeah, I think if Connor is inactive and he can't play, I think Carter. We've seen Carter produce when Breece Hall was injured.
Yeah,
and he produced well.
He did, and he likes to get it through the air as well, which is also very good for fantasy numbers too.
Yeah, a dual threat. I really like it, especially if Connor is really inactive. And Carter, we could see some high numbers from him to close out the season.
Yep.
Gary's pick is Tajee Spears. Again, this one is a thing to monitor because of his injury currently. But man, I've always thought Spears is better than Pollard. Why is Pollard the starter? Really, it's showed the last 3 weeks. Fantasy-wise, Tajee Spears has finished as a top 10 running back. RB10 the past 2 weeks, and then RB3 in week 15. Now he's going against Houston this week. That is a big concern because Houston's got a good defensive line that can stop the run. And I think that's just something to monitor, whether or not Spears' status is going to be healthy. And if he is he fully healthy?
Yeah, I mean, this last 3 weeks, he's looked like a stud. I don't understand the whole game plan of what they're doing there. Because if Spears has been this good, or is this good, and we haven't seen it up until recent, and I don't mind Pollard. I'm not saying that, Spears isn't better, but you could easily have them as a 1-2 tandem.
Yeah.
You don't need to throw the ball a bunch of times. If this is how you can score points, and your team isn't terrible and getting blown out all the time, then this is how you do it. I don't know why they just didn't try and give it to both the guys, and throw the ball very little. I mean, you would have saved Levis and Rudolph a lot of headaches if this is the way we were going to play.
So much.
But I like the Colin Spears, but it's just to monitor the concussion protocol. A lot of guys have been missing a week and then coming back, so it's just one to monitor. But if he does pass it, he's definitely a guy to take. I think he's probably number 2 on the picks at the position.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to pair him with my guy, which is Amir Abdullah. And the reason why I'm pairing them together is because fantasy managers who don't play week 18, they kind of just forget the rest of the season. They kind of forget what happens week 18. I think these guys that produce in week 18 are guys that you have to make sure you are not overlooking, because these guys are potentially players, late round picks that you could pick next season who can produce very well. Michael Carter, his draft stock, we could see him at the very back end of drafts next year if he produces a lot and does really well this last week. We might see Amir Abdullah or Tajay Spears. I mean, Tajay Spears, he's going to be a mid-round draft pick, especially if Pollard's gone, maybe even higher. But again, these guys that are producing late in the season, you can't overlook, because these are guys who are showing you that they can produce when given the opportunity. So going into Amir Abdullah, though, my guy, 17 plus points in 3 straight weeks, 17.7 fantasy points this past week, 40% owned. He's going against the Chargers, but he finally had the chance to show his potential on the ground. We saw it 2 weeks ago in week 16 that he could do it through the air. Now that we see him through the ground, he can do both. And he does have a tougher matchup with the Chargers, like I mentioned, but the Chargers have already clinched. We may see them rest their starters, and that is also a big thing, because if they do, then Amir Abdullah could see very well get to that 17 plus range again.
I think he will. There's nothing to say that he won't. The way he's been playing the last few weeks, this guy was like just returning punts everywhere he went. Never. I remember seeing him 6 years ago with the Lions when I went down to see Seahawks against the Lions, and the guy was fumbling left, right, and center. He did not look good. But man, this has to be his best season, fantasy wise, anyways. But yeah, he's definitely the pickup of the week. I was sorry I didn't start him over Connor last week, and I think if you've got someone who's on the fence with fitness and you have Abdullah, just play Abdullah.
I'm sorry for starting Jaden Reed over Abdullah this week
exactly.
in championship.
I mean, came back to bite us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you start him. I think he's an interesting one. What happens next year? Does he hang around with the Raiders? I mean, he's put the numbers up kind of at the right time for fantasy. That if he did last week help you win this week, I suppose not over yet, win your league, and or for week 18 he helps you win your league. You're going to remember that come your drafts next year and try and get him into your team, even if it's like the back end of drafts where he's practically free. So, he's definitely a guy that you got to play this week if you have him.
I'm so excited to see what's going to happen, because he could be the starter next year, and then his stock is going to be based on the past few weeks.
That's what it's going to be based off. Yeah, I mean, people just need to not get over excited by it, but just draft it like appropriately. That's all I would say there. If he does happen to win you a league or go off. But it's interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Amir Abdullah, Michael Carter, and Tajay Spears, our top running back ads of the week. Let's go into our wide receivers. And I'll start with my guy. He was my guy last week, and McMillan is McKilling it. Jalen McMillan's my ad of the week. He's been absolutely amazing. He's a stud. Wide receiver 12 this past week, 6 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, has put up 16 plus fantasy points in each of those weeks. Very favorable match against New Orleans, and for the Buccaneers, who very much need to win, and New Orleans, who somehow randomly just scores a lot of points, it could be another high scoring affair, and we could see McMillan breaking that 16 plus, which I very much think he will break 16 plus points again this week. 23 points this past week, 59% owned. I think this is a guy that you have to go pick up. And if you really need a wide receiver, I think he's the top wide receiver ad of the week. But I do want to mention quickly on the side Marvin Mims, because Marvin Mims is a stud as well. I just want to mention that real quick because none of us are going to talk about Marvin Mims, but I really like Marvin Mims and what he's been putting together to end off the season.
Yeah, I'll go with Macmillan's side. I mean, the guy's like the stud. I don't know how he hasn't reached the 70% ownership in the last few weeks, the way he's been playing and what numbers he's been putting up. Probably shows you how deep the wide receiver position is. Anyways, but I don't think Godwin comes back next year. I think Macmillan slots straight in there at the wide receiver 2 after Mike Evans. And I think you can go draft him next year with confidence. But this guy could be a league winner for you this week. I see him easy beating the 16 up to 20 points. The way they're balling out with Baker right now, like all you can see is like Mike Evans and Macmillan putting up big numbers. Bucky Irvin on the ground putting up big numbers. This is a powerful offense right now going places. So Macmillan's a great pick.
They're killing it. Who is your guy? Let's hear your guys pronounce.
Olamide Zaccheaus. There we go. I mean, I never thought I'd be talking about him in fantasy this year, but I mean, he's had back-to-back great weeks. He's had 9 receptions, 8 targets, 85 yards, and a touchdown this week. I don't even if they decide to rest starters next week, know that they're safe, I still think there's a chance he's on the field just to get more reps and stuff like that. I mean, I know he's had a pretty solid enough season. He's had back-to-back weeks, but like he could end up being their Terry McLaurin, if you know what I mean, if they rest him this week. So I still think he'd be out there. He won a lot of people, I think, their fantasy matchups this week. And if he's out there again, he could do the exact same. He was definitely the go-to guy with Terry being covered by Terrell this past week. And, obviously Daniel's not afraid to throw to him and he likes him. So I think he's, 5% owned? This is plenty of Zaccheaus to go around there. So I think he's a guy that he can definitely pick up and play this week.
My question is, do you think Daniels plays at all?
I think they'll give him some sort of reps, maybe even a quarter, and get him out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not Daniels, but you're getting the same style of play if they put Mariota out in terms of the run and like maybe not as accurate, but you're going to get the same style. So it's not like you're getting a major drop off either, in my opinion. But I think maybe they'll give Daniels, unless they really want to wrap him up in cotton wool, I think they'll maybe at least get a quarter of him.
Yeah, I could see a quarter, maybe at most a half from Daniels. But like you mentioned, 5% owned, you have a lot of zucchini to go around.
I like it.
I had to mention it. Gary's pick this week for the wide receiver position is Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, Wan'Dale, he's been getting a lot of targets, and I think Gary has talked about him multiple times. I think in total, he's gotten about 38 targets in the last 4 weeks, which is very good. That's what you want to see target-wise. And Drew Lock liked to throw to him. He had 5 receptions this past week, 6 targets, 71 yards. He tied for his season high this season. Again, tough matchup against Philly, but again, Philly's locked in at 2. We could see them benching their whole entire defense, and that just means sky's the limit for Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors, of course.
I think I brought him up as well. He's been on the show a few times over the years. Mm-hmm. Anyways, he's a talented guy. Kind of goes under the radar just because the Giants are so bad, but I think that's something they can build around with him and Neighbors going forward. Definitely got a potential this week with them resting the backups, and the Giants will be going full tilt, I'd imagine. Getting the reps in, unless they decided they made the biggest mistake of their life by winning last week, and they just go, no, let's play anybody. That's just terrible. But I really like Wan'Dale Robinson, like the pick. Just kind of interested to see what happens with him going forward. Obviously, they want an uptick in the quarterback position, probably at the draft. But I think he's definitely a guy that you can play this week. Probably more of a sure thing that all their stars are going to play over the likes of Washington. So Wan'Dale Robinson's definitely a guy to go for.
Had 8.3 points last time he faced Philly and did have 9 targets. So there is opportunity. Obviously, that was with Daniel Jones, but had to mention that as well. Come on, we're gonna close off the year, with some good memories. That was with Daniel Jones, but we could see that again with Drew Lock based on the style that he's been playing this past couple weeks.
Yep.
Jalen McMillan, Ahmed Zacchaeus, and Wan'Dale Robinson, the top wide receiver ads of the week. Let's go into our tight ends. And tight ends are always they've been very good to us this year. We've been able to talk about a lot of them. And
for a change.
For a change. Very much for a change. It's been the running backs who have been messing up our waiver wire ads because they're so hard to find this year. But Keith, this guy closed out the 2023 season with us, and this guy's going to close it out again. And let's hear it. Who is your tight end ad of the week?
Mr. Chiga Okonkwo himself. You want to go first name? I know you're a fan.
Chigoziem Okonkwo.
I was waiting for it. I mean, he's seen the targets again. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 42 yards. I mean, he didn't light it up. He was so close. If you've seen the play where Rudolph just missed him down the sideline, if he caught it, he was in for a touchdown. The day would have got bigger for fantasy, but he still put up solid numbers. Gets a Texans defense that, you know, they're not the best to go against. The tight ends are kind of in the middle, but I heard that it's going to be a mix of Levis and Rudolph. Let's hope it's more Rudolph because he likes to target Okonkwo more. But the guy has been he put up pretty solid numbers in terms of what you expect from a tight end the last few weeks and probably all season as a whole. So I think he's a guy just to go out there. There's a lot to grab from. What is he? 27% owned. There's a lot out there. I think you can definitely plug and play because these guys are going to be playing their starters to see what they have for next year. So he's definitely going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah, I think he's just been getting so many targets to really close out the year that I hope that this year finally he can go and translate that into next year, but for the full season.
Yeah, it depends who they have as the quarterback. I mean, Rudolph coming in was definitely a major uptick for him. He liked throwing to the tight end position. I mean, what you do, is this an audition for Levis and Rudolph just to be one of the backups? Are they going to go out and get someone else? I mean, who knows? I mean, we're talking about Mac Jones. Does Mac Jones make this team better as a starting QB? I mean,
I could see it.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where the Titans are going to go. I mean, I'm guessing it's the draft, but they're going to let these two guys audition on the weekend, and you know it's probably for the backup next year. But it's going to be interesting. But for one more week, I think Okonkwo could be safe, and hopefully, like you said, with a better quarterback, he can translate it into better fantasy numbers next year.
Yeah, I very much I like the opportunity. Matt Jones to Tennessee, that'd be intriguing. Could really restart his career, to be honest.
Right now, he's definitely not any worse than Levis from what we see, and that's my opinion on that. How much of an uptick? And I don't know, but he's definitely not any worse.
Levis.
Yeah, I definitely think he's better, but how much I don't know. But there could be more improvement in Jones than Levis. That's the way I'd look at it.
Very true. Very true. Gary's pick is Payne Durham. Who is that guy? Well, this guy actually finishes a tight end 12. Or at least for now, he's finished as a tight end 12. He got 3 targets. 2 receptions. The reason why he did get into the end zone. Finished the day with 11.6 fantasy points. He's actually not done that bad this past 2 weeks. The issue is obviously Cade Otton. If he's playing, then Durham is irrelevant. That is the words that Gary would like us to use to describe Durham for his ad of the week. Again, New Orleans, he is going up against New Orleans, which the question is New Orleans with a tough defense, can he be able to take that step and produce? Last time they faced New Orleans, Cade Otton put up 9.5 fantasy points. So again, it's a lower side of tight end points, but again, it's still good enough for the tight end position.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's looked fine. I get the whole target share this week wasn't a lot, but he fell into the end zone, and that's the most important thing if you had him on your team. So that was fine. The big thing is Otton comes back. He probably gets irrelevant again. Otton was irrelevant for a lot of the year, though. He always appeared on our show as a solid guy because he gets you that between 8 and 12 points. Yeah. But all of a sudden, when Godwin went down, there were lacking numbers at the receiver position. Otton was finding the end zone a lot more. Now, does that mean Durham will be consistent this week? Probably not, because the target share is not that big. But and with Otton being back, but I don't mind. I wouldn't mind playing him if you're stuck. I think I'd rather Okonkwo, just as in my opinion, but he's not a bad pick either, Durham.
I think I picked he did better than Brenton Strange, who was one of my starters this past week.
Strange had one good week and then blew up the last two.
Yep.
After looking like the potential was there to be to do what Ingram had been doing.
Exactly. So he messed up one of my leagues, but I don't think it mattered. I don't think that was a championship. I think that was just for like 5th place or 3rd place or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
My tight end who somehow finds a way on the show. I think he's been the most talked about tight end of the year. It's Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has bounced around. I think he might have went over 70% just once this year. Then got a little injured, then went down under 70%, and he's kind of been under that for the whole remaining part of the year. He finished as a tight end 2 last week, taking on Dallas, who, when he played Dallas and faced Dallas, he finished with 15.8 fantasy points to secure him the tight end 7. I think he's a very important piece to this team. And again, this is a good idea to see if Daniels is playing 1 and 2 quarters, because obviously I think even if he doesn't, and who's the backup? You said Mariota?
Mariota, yeah.
I think Mariota could still target Zach Ertz. And that's also depending on if Zach Ertz is going to play the full game, which I think he will. I think he very much will. 25.2 fantasy points he did put up. He's a 62% owned, so he's on the cusp of 70% owned. I like him. I think he's a great ad of the week.
I just don't get how he's not 70, because he's just plug and play. You don't need to worry about the position. You just put him in and let him do his thing. I mean, I don't know what much more I can add. He's been great all season. He's been great safety net and great in the end zone for Daniels. I think what more could you have asked for the first year with a rookie QB, where someone like that can just help you out as gray hands. Mm-hmm. Seen his catch for the touchdown to win it against Falcons. I mean, it was, he's just great. I don't know why he's not over 70% owned. There's not much I can.
You're trying to figure out something more to say, but you can't.
Yeah, or even something negative to say, but there's nothing there. I just don't understand why he's only 62% owned.
I'll tell you what, he's a tight end 7 on the year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people had him in their top 10 when they were ranking him at the start of the season.
No, I didn't at all.
Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely a guy people are going for way earlier in drafts than they were this year.
Yeah, for sure. Zach Ertz, Chigozie Okonkwo, and Payne Durham, our top tight end ads of the week for the final time. Our waiver wire picks of the year, and to close off the waiver show is, of course, our favorite, Gary's favorite, and I think what's turned out to be one of our favorites of the year. It is time to go to Thursday Night Football predictions. Here we go. Monday Night Football, Saturday, and Sunday Night Football predictions are here. We usually do Thursday Night Football, but guess what? It's Week 18. There is no Thursday Night Football. And, of course, since we're doing the show here on Monday, we got to put in Monday Night Football. Now, of course, the overall records, that stands. It looks like Keith could be running away with this one. He could win it. 28-15 overall record. Gary's got 25-18 overall record, and I have a 24-19 overall record. We were going to do the over-unders last week, but there was way too many games, 7 games. There was no need for over-unders. But one of the biggest things that really turned it around was Gary not being able to get the Bears over the Seahawks. Lost by 3 points. But yeah, it was very tough. But again, Monday Night Football's got the Lions taking on the 49ers with a 50.5 over under. Saturday's games is the Browns, Ravens, 41.5. Bengals, Steelers, big game right there, 48.5 over under. And then to close off the 2024 season, it is the Vikings at the Lions, 52.5 fantasy point over under. 52.5 fantasy points for a player would be nice too. Yeah, let's go on first to the Lions and 49ers. Keith, give me your take on your pick.
So tonight for Monday Night Football, I went with the Lions beating the 49ers, but I think closer than what people are thinking, and high scoring too, which is good. I'm going 30-27 and hitting the over.
Perfect. I love it. I think it's going to be a lot closer as well. I am taking still one score, a little bit more than yours, but Lions take it 35-27. Again, we're smashing the over. And to give Gary's take, 33-28 is his prediction. So we're all taking the Lions. We're all taking the over. There is no difference in our records with this game. Next up, Saturday, first game 1 of Saturday is the Browns taking on the Ravens, 41.5 over under. I'm going to go first. I'll take the Ravens. Give me 20-16 and give me the under.
Yep, I like it. I mean, I'm in the same boat here. Ravens 26 and the Browns 10. Going the under. Sorry, Gary. I mean, even if the Ravens play their seconds, I didn't see anything much out of the Browns against a backup Huntley from Miami to got me, thinking that they could do anything against this Ravens team. So 10 points is the most I can see them getting.
Very much can see that happen. Gary, of course, the Browns fan, he is going against them. He is taking the Ravens. Not only is he taking the Ravens, putting up 17 points, he's taking his Browns to put up 6.
Okay, he picked less than me. So
yeah, so I don't know if you don't have to feel bad about this.
Yeah, I don't feel bad.
Again, Ravens across the board, the under across the board. 41.5, I feel, is just a little too high.
It's way too high. Especially when what are you expecting? Like, Lamar could come out and just do the job in the first quarter, and then they just they just sit back and relax. So, I think, that's screaming value on the under if you're someone who wants to bet right now.
I think if I saw the over-under maybe 36 or 35.5, I think that could be a bigger, that would have made a big difference there.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because we're all, me and you we're
36.
We're practically on that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Crazy. Bengals at the Steelers. This one's going to be a good game. Keith, are you taking the Bengals? Or if you're not taking the Bengals, is Katie behind you ready to hit you with a pan?
I'm definitely taking the Bengals and going Bengals 28-23, hitting the over. Bengals got to do what they got to do. They got to do their whole side of things and get the win, and then hope and pray for things to go their way. But I think they will. I think they'll do the job and win 28-23.
Yeah, I can very much see that happening. Gary has the Bengals as well, 35-30. And then I'm taking the Bengals as well, 36-33. I think it's going to be a lot high-scoring game than what you had in your 28-23 prediction.
Yeah, I think Steelers' defense is not to be messed with. I know the Bengals' offense is so good, but I think they'll slow them down. These two teams know each other so well. They'll slow them down to an extent. It could be a slow start and get going in the second half, and then who knows what happens with the Steelers team if the Ravens have already won like we predicted. So that's why I just went a little bit lower.
We got the Bengals across the board, and we have the overs across the board. Final game of the regular season, the Vikings at the Lions. Whoever wins this game will clinch the number 1 overall seed and their division. I will be taking, this is a 1-point difference in this game, and it is a 30-29 victory for the Detroit Lions, and they hold number 1 overall seed for the playoffs.
We're going close to this one, Fernando. I'm going the Lions too, hitting the over, but I'm going with 2 points and going 31-29. So we're right there.
It's just crazy how close it's going to be. And Gary also is taking the Lions. He's taking it 38-33. Rob in the chat, he's been waiting all day for this. We've got you covered. We've got you covered for the predictions. I tell you what, though, we had all of the same exact predictions, everything across board. Oh, I guess on the show, we will have to officially congratulate Keith on being the Thursday Night Football / season prediction champion.
Wait, thank you.
And I will, of course, sadly, not be winning it.
You're taking the toilet bowl.
Yep. So Keith, congratulations. And of course, a big and Gary, he doesn't get much. He doesn't get anything. He just
he just sits in the middle.
But yeah, he just sits in the middle. But that's gonna do it. The whole season's done.
It's done. It's done. And what a season it was.
I just can't believe the season's just over, just like that.
I mean, we always want a few more weeks when it's like week 5 and week 6, and now it comes to the very end. It was like, we're excited for playoffs, but I'd still like a few more weeks.
Exactly. And even though the waivers are officially done for the year, we are still always here every single week. Of course, we were here on Monday last week and this week due to the holidays, but we are back on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time every single week. And this time we're going to have some playoff predictions, and we're going to have some fantasy playoff draft between us. So again, be on the lookout for that. And of course, if you haven't done so already, go use that code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They're going to match your first deposit up to $100. And if you're looking to purchase that trophy, ring, or belt for your victorious champion, go to TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ. Again, we have our listener league that gets a trophy every single year and punches their ticket into next year's winning league. And of course, it's either going to be me that wins it, or this one of our listeners called All Elite, who will be winning it and punching a ticket to not only winning the trophy from TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ, but also punching his ticket into next year's draft as well. Again, Keith, you're here every time. And of course, do you know that next week is the freaking playoffs?
It is the playoffs. Is this your surprise? This is your surprise?
I don't really have much of a surprise. Maybe we'll have a surprise next week on the show. But anyways, again, TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ. Go follow Keith all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. Go follow Gary all over social media at GDPicks. I'm your host, Fernando, and we want to thank you all for watching us here on SportsTimeHQ. We want to wish you guys a great, hopefully you guys had a great 2024. If not, hopefully 2025 will be better. And the countdown is starting, just 48 hours away until we are in 2025. Thank you all for watching here. I'm Fernando. I'm your host, SportsTimeHQ. We'll see you all next week.